This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Still to come in about 15 minutes. Professional bettor Jason Jarvis going to join the program, get some of his thoughts, where he's putting his money this week. Jeff Erickson, RotoWire senior editor as well, talking through some prop angles for Wild Card Weekend and beyond. We do have lots of injuries to update you for a handful of those games as well. Best bets for us at the end of the hour. But to kick us off here, we're breaking down a lot of the NBA action from last night and tonight's card that's coming up. But in addition to all of the chaos we had on the court, obviously yesterday, the off the court news was really making headlines with Trae Young officially getting moved to the Washington Wizards. What was your immediate reaction?
I mean, in all seriousness,
I think he'll be good for them.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be fine. I mean, here's the question. When does he play? So this was tweeted out pretty quickly after the news came down from a Washington Wizards beat writer, and it's been corroborated by some national media members as well. The quote from Josh Robbins: "I would be surprised if he plays much, if at all, the remainder of the season." The Wizards do have a protected pick that they would like to get, and if they fall outside of those parameters, then they don't get it. The adjusted win total was 22.5 for Washington, but considering that I'm sure Trae Young's knee is probably going to start bothering him a little bit more. And we don't even see him in a Wizards uniform until 2026. So, and I mean, like the start of 2026 season to 2027. I venture a guess that we don't get to see him, if at all. And look, teams do this all the time. And that
wasn't from the real Reinhardt account?
No, it's not. It was from an actual.
We did confirm, by the way, that is a parody account that has apparently got a lot of people.
Yes.
Trending. Go ahead.
I don't want to get in trouble for the things that I'm laughing at, but regardless, I will just say that it doesn't really do much for Washington. Going into next year, we can have that conversation. Okay. I think the real thing becomes for the Hawks is the next step trading for Anthony Davis. That has largely been the rumor here, is that the Hawks are sniffing around and potentially looking to add Anthony Davis. I think that's okay, I guess. I mean, first off, he doesn't really, as we've talked about with the availability, doesn't play too much. You're going to have to pay him as well. And on top of that, as our wonderful NBA expert Zach Cohen put, you're going to give up 94 and then score 92. Mm-hmm. So like their offense is going to be brutal to watch. They're going to be really good on defense, but I just don't know how that helps you from an offensive standpoint. So I think that's the ramification you're watching. We got a report either yesterday or the day before. Can't remember when it came down. The Mavericks are looking to trade Anthony Davis. This will be something that happens relatively soon, and it does seem like the Hawks right now are the leaders in the clubhouse to get him.
The injury stuff with AD is just, I think, a natural concern whenever you hear his name thrown up in any of these types of conversations.
Absolutely. I mean, it's wild to me that you would be because the Hawks, I think the reason why we're here is the Hawks thought many years ago when they made that run to the Eastern Conference Finals that was a legitimate run. And the problem is it wasn't. The teams, two of them that they had taken on, were largely injured and thin. And so you made a run that maybe you thought accelerated the timeline that did not really exist. So now you've got this core of young wings and you're like, yeah, let's see if we can get this done. And then the reality becomes that you just don't. Who knows? Maybe you still can enact or get that top pick. We'll see if that's going to happen for you, or at least a really good pick in a draft that has a lot of good guards. So maybe that's going to happen for you. But at the end of the day, it's hard to bank on that being the outcome if you're Atlanta. So we'll see. Maybe at the end of all of this, somehow we start next year and the Hawks have A.J. Debonsa and Anthony Davis and all those wings, and they're really good. I would doubt that that's the case, but maybe that's exactly what happens.
Speaking of picks, that was the one thing I was surprised about. And you're obviously much more involved in what these trades look like, but that there wasn't draft compensation was a little bit of a surprise.
But so I was surprised at that, but the other way. I thought the Wizards would get some draft picks back because that is a big contract. I mean, he's got a player option for I think like $46 million next year. There's going to be a re-signing aspect to this as well. Usually in those situations, I'm not expecting like a first, but a couple of seconds, something like that. And instead, that's not the case. So I was surprised. I'm with you, but I think we're at odds with the who didn't get the picks. Look, Trae Young's a good player, but he's not the type of player anymore that would constitute a package that would include a young player and picks to go and grab. And so I think that to me was surprising that the Hawks did not have to send a pick to sweeten the deal for them, the Wizards, to take Trae Young off the books.
Okay. Let's get back into a little NFL talk. Also, just another reminder, the Hardwood Handicappers podcast is out now. You are on today's episode with Zach Cohen. Make sure you check it out. Download while you can. 6 games coming up this weekend for Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. 4 games with spreads at 3.5 or shorter. Philly actually was 3.5 at open. Now we're out to 5.5 with some general just people like the Eagles better, and they've taken a stance on this side, then paired with some of the injury updates that we told you a little bit earlier, looking like Trent Williams, Ricky Pearsall likely going to be unavailable. We know Tatum Bethune is already out for this one, out for the rest of the year. And then on the other side for the Philadelphia Eagles, getting Lane Johnson back would obviously be significant.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this game. I inherently trust in the Eagles defense to an extent. Now, I don't know if they're a great run defense, but I think they're good enough, and I trust their ability to get after opposing quarterbacks. So, I like Philly, and I think that of all the units, I kind of trust them the most in this game. If I were power ranking the units that I trust, it would be Philly's defense 1, and then the 49ers offense 2. But even then, I mean, they seemingly ran into a brick wall over the weekend against the Seattle Seahawks and did absolutely nothing there. And then you mentioned some of the potential absences that they're going to have, and then my trust wanes, I think, a little bit more with this 49ers offense. So the one thing I feel like I know is that this Eagles defense is going to be good and ready to go, and I lean in that direction. The question is their offense going to be good enough here that they're going to be able to cover this sort of a margin in a playoff game? That's to me, it's a really tough ask, I think, at 5.5.
And when we had Nick Bogdanovich on the program earlier, headed trading over at Boomer Sportsbook, he said it's 5.5 going to 6. So this number could get even more inflated as we get closer to kickoff. That game is one of the ones that's coming up on Sunday. Anything that and we'll do our best bets recap, of course, at the end of the show, but anything that you have bet already for Wild Card Weekend or are pretty tempted on, maybe?
There's a couple. First off, I did do the basic. I think a lot of people are going to have this. But when these numbers came out, the first thing I did was tease up Jacksonville and tease up Green Bay. Yeah. So
I think whichever side of that game has the +1.5 for Bears Packers, you would probably still feel good about.
Sure. Yeah. And so, I mean, I figure the Packers are going to go off as the favorite. So teasing that as quickly as I could and getting that there, I thought was going to be the case. And sure enough, we're there. I would generally agree with you, though. These seem like tight games. That game, too, considering weather in total, that's probably going to be a tight game. So if you can get 7.5 either way, I think you're going to feel relatively comfortable. The Jacksonville game, so I will invoke college football for just a brief moment. And I told you this before this game. All I heard was that Georgia was just going to take care of Ole Miss. And all we heard was that Georgia was a team that was going to be a national title contender and whatnot. And yet, that line didn't budge. Didn't really go in Georgia's direction. In fact, one time while we were on the air, went to 5.5. And, of course, we know the result. I think this is somewhat similar to what we're watching here because it's funny. I don't know if I kind of laugh when you said it too. I have now talked to 8 people. I keep track of this. And all 8, including myself, have said the same thing. I'm surprised the Jags didn't open as a favorite here. I'm surprised the Jags aren't favored here. And guess who's still not really favored in this game? Now we're heading in that direction, and it's only like 1.5 to 1.5 the other direction. It would be the craziest thing in the world. I have yet to hear the case for the Buffalo Bills in this game. And even more so, all I hear is not only Jacksonville in this game, but that Jacksonville might quietly be the best team in the AFC. And I wonder if we're just ignoring the fact that Josh Allen is still Josh Allen. This offense still is dangerous. And one of the things that sticks out, if you look since week 13, Trevor Lawrence has been one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. The Jags have been one of the best offenses in the National Football League. And yet even still, they're 30th in rush efficiency over that stretch. And the biggest weakness for Buffalo is their inability to stop the run. Yeah. And so if we're overvaluing this run that Jacksonville has been on, are we overlooking this too much? Because I cannot find anybody for the life of me to make the case for the Buffalo Bills. And again, I am included in the pro-Jacksonville side. I think they are the side here, but I can't find anybody to do it.
Well, we did. You missed Ben Stevens yesterday on the program because he likes Buffalo actually to come out of the AFC. Okay. So that's his angle. He feels like they could get it done against Jacksonville. And then you've got a semi-favorable path against maybe a New England team that when you look at, how real are they based on the strength of schedule and all that kind of stuff? Like that's at least the argument that he was making. But I am with you. I love the Jags as a teaser like this week, bringing that up to 7.5. I also can't help but question the Josh Allen on the road factor. Being over ATS is a little bit scary to want to bank on. I just feel like
that's a postseason only trend, correct?
Yeah. Okay. That is a feeling that, and I hate it for Josh Allen and I hate it for Buffalo Bills fans. But in a year where you have no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, I don't know if it's the year for Buffalo. And I feel for him. I wish that wasn't the case. I did want to give a quick update here because we're getting social media injury updates and stuff. And as we were just talking about Bears-Packers, we do have CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's been dealing with a concussion, confirmed is out. Kyler Gordon, questionable, limited at practice yesterday. The plan is to have him back after missing the last 4 games of that second stint of IR for him. Rome Odunze, questionable, but planning to play, and encouraging sign that he's logged limiteds each of the last couple weeks. So did at least want to get that out there. On the Packers side of things, Matt LaFleur did say he expects their right tackle, Zach Tom, to be back, which premier tackle in the league. Very good for them to have him back after missing the last 3 games of the regular season. Where else do you want to go?
Go Bears. Yeah, we would really like this to happen here. So I guess we'll have more time on this a little bit later, or we can do it on the other side as well. But I do think that we should go back to the game that you and I lost an in-game wager on during a live bet Sunday, which is Rams and Panthers. And I think that, I don't know if there's a spread play there, but I do somewhat expect, if weather holds up, that the Rams can not name their score, but operate at a very high level offensively, we'll say, against Carolina this weekend.
Okay, worth noting, Sean McVay did tell reporters Davante Adams expected to go after missing the last 3 games, said that they erred on the side of caution with him. Quote, I know it's pissed him off pretty good. So maybe you'll have a pretty motivated Davante Adams there alongside Puka Nacua. Safety Quentin Lake also expected to be back for the postseason. We are going to take a break here. Good reminder as we talk about all of these line moves, though, that before the line moves, sharp play is already there. January isn't just about volume, it's about precision. The NFL postseason is where limits rise, mistakes shrink, and timing matters more than ever. Powered by advanced AI, connected to proven insider sources, the Sharp Plays is locked in on the NFL playoffs, giving you where the sharp money hits before the number disappears. Sharpplays.com, trusted by the pros, monitored by the books. Sharpplays.com.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you, live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino, and in studio with us, very excited, Jason Jarvis on set, professional bettor, of course, sitting top 3 in the Circa Friday Football Invitational. Good spot to be. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
You're surviving after just touching down in Las Vegas like 30 minutes ago.
Whirlwind. Happy to be here.
How was the flight? A lot of turbulence? Anything?
Actually, it was.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, and it was a little bit delayed. I heard when I got here, though, there was a lot of wind around here. So.
I'm not a big flight guy. We had to take a flight to Omaha over the summer, and I think we almost died like twice.
Yeah, maybe.
The turbulence is pretty bad.
I prefer
the ground.
We were talking about my sideline stuff. I travel every week, and I even said that trip to Omaha, I was like, that's the most turbulence I've felt in a while. And for someone that never flies to feel that, I felt for you.
All right, let's talk about Rams-Panthers then. Rams, speaking of turbulence, another cross-country trip, situationally maybe not the best. Atlanta, then go back home, then you take on the Cardinals, then you're coming back here. They're 10.5-point favorites on the road against Carolina, total of 46. What are your initial thoughts on the rematch here?
You know, obviously they met in week 13. I don't envision it going down anywhere similar to what we saw then. You know, let's not forget Carolina kind of limped into the playoffs here. Not even limped in, backed in.
Yeah.
They're under 500 team. You know, on the flip, look, Dowdle's been great. They've got some good stories. McMillan's been a great rookie. But at the end of the day, they're just playing a superior team in the Rams. You know, Stafford's been incredible all year, but specifically when he's got a clean pocket. And the Panthers actually have the worst QB pressure rate of any team, not just the playoffs, but of any NFL team. So, you know, with Puka Nacua, who's making just catch after catch, week after week, one better than the other, which is pretty much impossible based on some of those catches he's making. You get Davante Adams coming back. I just think that they've got way too many weapons on offense. They've got a solid defense. And, you know, let's not forget, up until about 2-3 weeks ago, everyone was anointing the Rams the best team in football.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not big on laying 10.5 points in the NFL. As a matter of fact, the last time I did that, I had to check was week.
Was it the Seahawks-Titans game?
No, it was week 7 when the Chiefs beat the Raiders 31-0.
Oh, that's right. No, and I don't know about you and I both had the Titans that week. That's right. We liked Seahawks.
Which game was that? Titans
Seahawks.
I don't think that worked out well, did it?
No, they stayed inside just barely.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
It's a good one.
It was a sweat. It was a sweat.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, though, about double digits in the NFL anytime. But there does also feel like a revenge factor to this, too, a little bit from that first matchup with the Rams.
It does. I'm a little bit hesitant to play it now. I've already got the Rams in a couple money line parlays. I just don't want to lay that type of points.
Sure.
And, weather might be a little bit of a factor. I'm more concerned about wind, obviously, than rain. Wind much more impactful for a quarterback. But, those are just some things to look at. To me, it would be the Rams or pass if I was taking the spread, but I'm very comfortable with the Rams winning the game. For
a tiny quarterback, too. A demure quarterback like Bryce Young wins might matter here a little bit.
Also worth noting, though, on the Panthers side, Robert Hunt, who has been out on injured reserve, there is some optimism that he'll be able to get out there for this one on Carolina's side. How about Packers-Bears with this short spread, teams that split in the regular season? Home team has had the edge in both. How do you see that one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously division rivals, they know each other well. Both matchups were awesome. The first one, I think Caleb got picked off in the end zone, and then he had his walk-off payback a few weeks later. The Packers limp into this one. I think they've lost 4 in a row, but it's their 3rd straight playoff appearance, and it's the Bears' first playoff appearance since 2020. And I really think that makes all the difference in the world here. The Lions kind of gave the Packers the blueprint last week of how to beat this team. They held the Bears to 65 yards rushing. The Packers, even without Parsons, they still have an above-average defense. And the Bears, credit to Ben Johnson and that team, but it's been a little bit of I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but man, they've gotten every break this year, I feel like, and it's just not sustainable. I think the Packers are going to be able to, stop the run, make Caleb Williams throw the ball, which is not necessarily his forte on 3rd and long. And I just think it sets up well for the Packers in this matchup. I love the style of running that Jacobs has. He's fierce. The Bears defense is a little bit porous. And I think that, with the experience that Love has here, that might be what makes the difference.
You're a big teaser player? Is this a candidate?
Well, so it's funny you say that. I actually, the first bet I made this week was the Packers up to 8 and the Jaguars up to 8.
That's exactly what I did.
Did you? They opened 1.5 or 2 real quick at DraftKings. I don't remember what the number was, but I think I did a 6.5 point teaser to get them both up to 8 points. Mm-hmm. And then, So I think that it's a good teaser leg. I'm not a huge teaser player. I've done teasers more the last couple of years than I had prior to that, but I think it can be advantageous.
It scares me how much I like the Jags teaser leg. But how do you see that matchup with Buffalo?
So that one's interesting, right? You got Josh Allen. He's got to be super pumped. There's no Mahomes, no Lamar. He's like, great, I finally got my way to the Super Bowl. He's got the NFL rushing leader in Cook, to hand the ball off to. But, he's facing Trevor Lawrence, who's had by far the best year of his career. He basically did his best Josh Allen imitation with 9 rushing touchdowns to lead the team. The Jags are hot. They've won 8 straight. I think they're a much more balanced team than they've had in years past. That Parker Washington's kind of come out of nowhere, took over as the wide receiver 1. Thomas had some drop issues earlier in the year, but he's rebounded a little bit. They picked up Jacoby Myers. I just think that the Jags are a really well-balanced team. They've got a good defense. I'll tell you what scares me more than anything about that game is I haven't heard a lot of Buffalo love.
That's exactly what I just said. Yeah,
and you never want to be on the side of the public or on the popular dog, so to speak. But I kind of like Jacksonville. I'm under the impression that there's still a lot of people out there that think it's Josh Allen, and they're going to put their money on Josh Allen. It's the Jaguars. How good can they really be? But they're kind of sneaky good. And look at special teams. They might have the best kicker in the NFL. I mean, I love Dicker. Aubrey had some struggles at the end, but man, he's just a stud back there, kicking the ball from 70 yards plus.
So Mitch Moss and I were talking about this on our Pod to the Futures podcast with Super Bowl MVP up right now. Throwing a little on Cam Little to win this thing. I mean, we're talking in the range like 300-1. That dude on week 17 trotted out there and kicked a 67-yarder, no problem.
Good from 75.
Yep. So, I mean, in a position where the Jacksonville Jaguars get there, either a game winner or a bunt, they're going to be comfortable trotting him out there wherever, especially in a more controlled environment. Not, they're still going to be outdoors in Santa Clara, but one would assume maybe some little better conditions. So, Little's insane and maybe doing a little small Super Bowl MVP.
So, are you seeing the same thing I am? Is all the love on Jacksonville? Because I really have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And by the way, I will say, again, I am guilty of that because I am among those that believe Jacksonville not only could win this game, but might quietly be the best team in the AFC.
I mean, we haven't seen a playoffs like this since I can remember, where it's so wide open, anybody can win it, and that makes it really exciting.
Real quickly, and I know that people probably aren't super excited for a kicker breakdown, but on the Bills side, Matt Prater is injured as well, and he's day-to-day, so they ended up signing NFL, XFL journeyman Michael Wright to the practice squad after a tryout, so if it did come down to an end-of-game kick, I think it's pretty clear who you would trust in that moment.
No question.
What about 49ers, Eagles? Philly's been getting all the money so far.
Yeah, they have. And this one's kind of similar to the Ravens play for me. I think Philadelphia is going to win this game. To me, this is really just all about the defenses. San Fran's got a very good offense, but they've got some injuries with Williams and, Pearsall's been sidelined. Neither of them practiced yesterday. I'm not sure about today. The Eagles defense is their best unit. The offense, we all saw the last, I don't know how many weeks, 6 to 8 weeks kind of struggle. They went into Buffalo, though, and they limited Josh Allen and that Bills team, and the defense absolutely shut them down. Week 18 is kind of irrelevant as they had most of their team sitting, although it was a little bit foolish because they had a good shot of getting that 2 seed had they beat Washington. The Eagles are a funny team. They're so Jekyll and Hyde. You never know what you're going to get with them, especially in that offense. But I just think that San Fran's too banged up. And, we talked about the defense. That Niners defense is
bad.
It's bad. They played well against Seattle, but their offense got shut down. Prior to that, the offense was kind of clicking. But, again, I just think that this is a game, where you have Philly home field. And I was thinking back to a couple years ago when Purdy got hurt, and here's a little payback spot for San Fran, but I just don't think that they've got the personnel or the defense to match up with Philly.
All right, we have 2 games left. We have 90 seconds left with you. You're 13-4-1 on your best bets in the Circa Friday Football Invitational. Any idea what that's going to be this week?
Haven't decided.
Okay.
I got to see what the lines come out tomorrow. They don't issue them until 10 a.m. here. So.
Okay. All right. Last 2 then. New England taking on L.A. or Houston taking on Pittsburgh. How do you feel stronger about either one of those 2 games?
It's funny, actually. So I told you about the teaser bet I made. And besides that, the only other bet I put in was Houston minus 2.5 on DraftKings. I knew the line was going to get steamed up. However, after sleeping on it for a night and doing a little bit of analysis, I actually then put a larger bet on the Steelers plus 3.5.
Okay.
So this to me has all the makings of an ugly Steelers game where it's going to be a 16-14, 17-16. They stay in it. The Texans defense is phenomenal, but, Aaron Rodgers is a pretty smart guy, even at his age. He knows how to get the ball out of his hands quickly. The Texans offense doesn't necessarily scare me. And Pittsburgh was playing a defensive battle last week, and then all of a sudden Kyle Hamilton got hurt, and that turned into an offensive shootout. But I think Pittsburgh has what it takes to kind of keep Houston in check. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, ugly game, and that's probably exactly the way Pittsburgh wants it.
Sure.
There's a world in which you could win both of those bets, too. Mm-hmm. So
I would love a 3-point Texans win, no doubt.
Jason Jarvis, everybody, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it, especially hustling down here from the airport. It's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
We got to step aside here. You hear that music, but when we come back, Jeff Erickson is going to join the program of RotoWire, get his thoughts from a prop betting perspective on Wild Card Weekend. We'll be right back. More Money Moves coming up after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Through all the line movement, side and total changes in the wild card weekend that's coming up beginning on Saturday. Now it's time for some prop analysis. Very excited to have Jeff Erickson join us on the Progressive Guest Line. RotoWire senior editor, host of RotoWire Fantasy Sports Today on SiriusXM Satellite Radio, Channel 87. Jeff, what is going on? You pumped that we are finally here? Playoff football on the way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, starting tonight through Monday, it's one of the best sports weekends out there. Yeah. Right up there with Week 1, March Madness, start of baseball, all those things. This is a great time. I'm so excited.
All right, so let's start. I guess we can start anywhere, but I'm just more curious. We got best bets. We got plays. Are you with us, as we have been told now by Ryan Kramer, our own here on the Sports Gambling Podcast? Will you be on the Jag wagon? Are you with us as the Jacksonville Jaguars being the best team in the AFC, the hottest team in the AFC?
I'm absolutely on them for this weekend, especially. I think that they're going to win this game, and I was very happy to be able to back a side where I'm getting points at home as the hottest team in the AFC. Buffalo is a clear home and road split, too, in terms of the quality of their offense and the ability to be able to move the ball. Almost all of their big wins have been at home. Bengals, Chiefs, Eagles, Ravens in week 1. All of those games were at home. Some of their worst games have been on the road. The Houston game, the Atlanta game, where, the pass rush got to them there, surprisingly, as well, that Monday night game. I think this is going to be a really tough ask. And I think Jacksonville is sneakily a really good defensive team. I think a lot of the focus has been on how hot Trevor Lawrence has been. I think 1 interception in the last 6 weeks. The defense has been good all season long.
Meanwhile, even with the defense looking good, there is a prop on Buffalo's side that you are looking at. You like James Cook in the attempts. How come?
I like the under on the James Cook in attempts at 18.5.
Oh, I didn't
Buffalo
see that. I just saw the number. Look at you.
That's what you use for.
Dang it. Terrible segue on my behalf. I was trying
to set it up.
Shoot.
Come on now.
It's okay. It's okay, though. Hey, we get to talk about it. It's just a bridge to talk about it anyhow. So Buffalo is the slowest paced team in the NFL this year. Longest amount of time per play. I think it's around 31.9 seconds, if I remember correctly. And they're almost perennially there. It's going to be a slower paced game despite this high total. I think that's one of the interesting disconnects here. Jacksonville is actually pretty decent against stopping the run as well. I think they want to get Cook going, but I think they're not going to be able to. And I think they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to rely on the Josh Allen magic. So I like the under 18.5 rush attempts. I'm mostly just interested in watching this game. Of the 6 games, this is the game I'm most excited to watch.
All right, I like it. Let's go to a couple of others that you have here. Let's go with the Chargers-Patriots game because I'm really interested in this one. We haven't had a lot of time on this one today yet, but looking at like 3.5 with a total of 46.5. Let's start total first. What do you like between these two?
I think this game is going to be a rock fight. I really think the colder weather actually is not a bad thing for the Chargers. Remember when they went into Kansas City, just beat up on the Chiefs receivers. They beat up on Mahomes. This is a physical team. This is a team that's built for cold weather. I don't think that phases them at all in the slightest. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I like the under 46.5. I personally set when I do my lines at the beginning of the week, I set it at 44. So I really like the under on this one here. There is a couple of individual props I do like, both pro and con. This is another 2 slow-paced teams also. If you dig into the pace stats there, we do that in basketball all the time. We don't do it as much in football, but I think it applies here. I think that also kind of ties to the under narrative, but I like the under 31.5 passing attempts by Justin Herbert. I don't think they want to expose him to a ton of hits. I don't think they want to have him get hit. I think he's going to have to scramble when he does drop back. So I like the over rushing yards at 28.5. I think in a playoff game that matters so much, he will go all out as far as that goes. But I just don't think they're going to try to have him throw the ball that much.
And I was going to say, especially coming off the Jacksonville conversation where you dubbed them the hottest team in the AFC, yes, they have been great on this 8-game win streak, but New England might try to have something to say about that, winning 13 of 14 coming into the postseason as well. Drake May, all of a sudden an MVP candidate. How do you see him potentially performing in this one?
Yeah, this is interesting because I think that, he's built his resume off of a lot of bad defenses. But that doesn't mean he's still not great. I think he's especially great at throwing the deep ball. And we've seen with the Chargers, as good as their defense is, if they have a vulnerability, it's a long pass. You saw this in the Houston game. C.J. Stroud hit 2 big ones early on in that game. Well-designed plays. Drake May is probably the best deep ball thrower right now. So I like Drake May, longest pass, over 35.5 yards. And you get it at minus 115 over at DraftKings. Shop around is always find your best odds as far as that goes. But I usually don't dabble in things like that, but I just think that stood out, that I think they'll hit at least on one big deep play.
All right, let's go to San Francisco and Philadelphia. I know you like a total here, but big picture, how cooked are 49ers fans like Stormy Buonantony who want this team to win this game? But all these injuries think might be holding them back.
Yeah, the news keeps on getting worse over the course of the week. And I want to see a viable, healthy Niners team. They're not healthy, though. The Trent Williams injury in particular really bothers me the most of all the injuries they have on offense. On defense, they lost 2 more linebackers in week 18. I think it's going to be kind of tough all the way around on that one there. I like the under in this game. I think Philly's defense is getting healthy at the right time. Nakobe Dean's probably going to play. Jalen Carter and Jalen Phillips both sat out in week 18. But Carter looked really good in the preceding weeks. I think it's just a matter of he got his procedure done to get his shoulders right. I think this is going to be a tough row to hoe in terms of running the ball for the Niners without Trent Williams, which means they're going to have to rely on a lot of short passes. If there's a positive Niners prop that I like, it's the Christian McCaffrey over 5.5 receptions. I feel like I've gone to that particular well a lot during the course of this season. I think it's really pertinent in this game. I think they're going to do a lot of quick, short passes to McCaffrey. I don't think they're going to run the ball all that effectively. So I think they're going to find themselves a lot of like 2nd and 8, 3rd and 6 sort of situations where they're going to be looking for McCaffrey.
Yeah, even when the offense struggled as much as it did last week against Seattle, he only had 34 yards receiving, but still 6 catches in that game on 7 targets. Yep. So that is definitely like a huge part of what they do in their game. And speaking to the injuries, JVT and I have talked about it a lot this year, considering how many guys have just dropped like flies with San Francisco. The fact that Christian McCaffrey, of all people, has stayed healthy throughout the course of the year has been remarkable.
Yeah, it might scare me for next year in fantasy drafts. This is the first time he's done 17 games, I think, like ever. And so I think that is one of the things I'm worried about a little bit there. Yeah, absolutely. But I think Kyle Shanahan should probably win Coach of the Year, given all the injuries that's happened this year. I wouldn't mind a little sprinkle in that market too. So
I totally agree with you. Did you see the odds movement on the? That was wild to me. That
you clearly don't listen to Pond of the Future.
Kyle Shanahan for Coach of the Year goes from like the plus 350 range to 300 to 1 after one game, even though they were playing for the 1 seed that week. That's ridiculous.
No, he's no longer a good coach. Because
how does that make sense? In what world does that make sense, Jeff?
It's so volatile, just like, and it's weird that we're seeing so much movement in week 18 in a lot of awards, but that one in particular, I think one of the reasons why is we have so many viable candidates this year, that there are so many good Coach of the Year candidates. You've got the Mike Vrabel story, worst to second overall in the AFC is a good story there. And a lot of the perennial good coaches had bad years too, including some getting fired. So there's that as well.
Quick question for you, because you mentioned looking ahead to next year for fantasy. For people that are getting involved in postseason fantasy leagues, or we had Kendall Valenzuela on earlier this week, and she was talking about the guillotine leagues and stuff you can get into. What's kind of your philosophy for the strategy of getting involved this time of year?
More postseason fantasy is good. There's a lot of different ways to play. We did a draft on air on Wednesday on our show on SiriusXM Fantasy, where it's just you draft your players. There's no bench. You try to bankroll teams and try to get, as many games as possible. We are also partners with the NFFC, the National Fantasy Football Championship. They have a postseason Hold'em game, which is an overall contest where you have to do one player from 12 different teams this first week. There'll be multipliers. And then there's a third way you can do where you use them or lose them. I like that way too, where you have to choose when you use your player. I remember years where you tried to decide which week am I going to use Peyton Manning, and then he gets knocked out early and you don't get to use him at all, or you chose the wrong one. I think there's a lot of fun behind that strategy as well. So I like the small drafts though. I like getting together with my buddies, a 6 or 7 team draft, and just do that there. And it's luck of the draw to see who you get. This year's great because there's no obvious bankrolls. A lot of people are back in the Rams or the Bills, but that's a 5 and a 6 seed respectively. That's wild to me that we're thinking about that and avoiding 1 and 2 seeds.
Which that's another funny thing as we talk about the Jacksonville Buffalo angle, how nobody seems to be making the case to bet the Bills minus 1.5. And yet in fantasy world for playoff fantasy drafts, everybody's thinking, okay, the Bills are going to go far, so these are the players I want.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an amazing disconnect. And we've had plenty of people on our show that have been backing the Bills, and it's always Josh Allen is always the rationale for it there. I just don't think Buffalo stops Jacksonville. I think Buffalo's defense is so banged up and so vulnerable to begin with there in a lot of different ways that I think Jacksonville's just going to win a shootout.
Jeff, awesome stuff as always. We appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this, and good luck with the bets.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, speaking to some of those Buffalo injuries, lots of defensive questionables right now. Linebacker Terrell Bernard aggravates his calf. He's in danger of missing out. Matt Milano didn't practice yesterday with an illness. Daquan Jones, Jordan Poyer, both missed the last 2 regular season games, trending toward playing. Josh Palmer, also an unexpected DNP yesterday. What does that look like? So a lot of stuff going on over there in Buffalo.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Wrap it up. Wednesday edition of Money Moves alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Buonantony with you live in downtown Las Vegas, Circuit Resort and Casino. Let's get into the bets. I know, JVT, you've been away from us the last couple days. We have missed you so much.
You got to stop that.
What?
I've been here for a vast majority of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah?
Somebody has not.
I made time to come on and do hits with you.
Absolutely ridiculous. I also, for those who don't know, we get to park at the same parking garage, and as I got out of my car and I look, and there's just Stormy just standing there all excited in the middle of the garage. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
I gave JVT one of these. Just like a very excited wave, like a total nerd, which I was almost as excited to see you today as I was yesterday when I got home. And so I know some of our audience will appreciate this because you know how obsessed I am with the Pop-Tart Bowl and with Pop-Tarts specifically. I've been out of town, as you mentioned, the last 10 days or so prior to coming back on Tuesday. And there was a package that got delivered to my house, but I had already gone to the airport. So my neighbor was very nice. They pick up the package for me, and I didn't get it back until yesterday. And I open up the box, and it is that big Pop-Tart bowl thing with the 6 things of different flavored Pop-Tarts and stuff in it. Guys, if this has taught me anything, it's if you beg enough on social media for something, people will give you free stuff. And I am so excited. Words cannot describe what I was feeling yesterday when I opened that Pop-Tart. I busted open the cookies and cream one right away. I'm going to try to work through all of the different flavors this week. Tonight is going to be cookie dough.
Well, first off, I'd argue against the premise of if you beg enough. I feel like...
I don't know. It worked.
I feel like your platform might be different than somebody else.
I don't know. I've had to repeat it. I mean, this is year 3 of the bowl. It took some time for me to get that action. Also,
to break in with legitimate news.
Oh, we have real news?
Trent Williams did practice today.
Hell yeah. So. I think that's massive. If Trent Williams plays, maybe he had some Pop-Tarts that healed him from the macro waves of the...
Big one.
Brian M. tweeting at us, by the way.
I stopped using Bluetooth after I tore my ACL. And all of a sudden I have an ACL steal. Yep.
It's fascinating.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It is funny, though, how much attention that has gotten with being near the field.
I will make my stance known. It's very stupid.
Agreed. That said, great to see him practicing. He is one of the best, if not the best, left tackles in the entire league. Makes a huge difference for what the 49ers want to try to do offensively.
Correct.
So we'll see if that comes to fruition, if he's able to get out on the field. You said earlier, though, you have no idea what you want to do with that game. I feel like if we get to 6, I have to take the points.
I feel like using Philly in a moneyline parlay, if you wanted to put that together with something, I think makes some sense.
I wouldn't do it. I do have moneyline parlay, though, that I'm adding to the account. Let's get to our best bets of the day. To recap for me, at least yesterday, not good on the ice, 0 for 2. The Stars and Caps, there was no shot that this was going to get home. It was like a 2-goal game in the second period. Senators Mammoth, unfortunately, doesn't get there either. I told you guys I liked the Canadians. That did end up winning, but of course it wasn't one of my official bets. So we forge on, and I'm looking strictly to college football and NBA tonight. You and I doing the team play with the Charlotte Hornets tonight against the Pacers. We're laying the 4.5. Think the cover streak can continue.
The true test of our relationship here is whether or not the Hornets can get this done tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Also the win total itself.
Because if we could get both the win-o-meter to tick up and cash a bet today, that would be great.
It would be fantastic. And to get to our 14th win here before the middle of January is very good for us. So especially after the way the season started. Again, negative scheduling spot. The Charlotte Hornets are on the second leg of a back-to-back, playing the third game in 4 nights. But Brandon Miller didn't play yesterday. Looks like he's on track to play today. It's a pretty young team. Should be able to deal with the negative side of playing a second leg of a back-to-back here. I think they're going to be fine in this spot to get this done against the Pacers team that, for those who do not know, have lost 13 straight and failed to cover 8 of those contests. Also, home-to-home back-to-back, not the same as like a road-to-home or anything like that. There's no travel. You just played yesterday at home, blew the game against Toronto. Now here we go again. I don't like the spot, but I think if we're going to trust this Hornets team like we have with our win totals, we got to trust them here to take advantage of a sliding Pacers squad. So let's go Charlotte.
And I'm adding another layer to this bad boy.
Okay.
Because I also did for funsies, and we'll make this an official play, but it's going to be like a half unit. It's just a little baby bet here on the Hornets money line paired with Miami money line for the semifinal today. Pays about plus 150 if you paired those two together. Get the dubs. Let's make it happen. I did end up laying 3 with Miami as well for the game against Ole Miss today. We talked about it a lot earlier on the program. I went back and forth on this game, but ultimately when all was said and done, going through all of the different matchups, I felt like the trenches win these types of games. And I don't know if the magic that we've seen from Trinidad Chambliss is sustainable against a defense like this. And then a lot of the matchup will come on the other side of the ball where I think Ole Miss's defense is to be had. So that's kind of how I ended up settling on that one. Laid the full 3 with Miami since the hooks had gone away.
Yeah, I lean toward the under here for the game. We're up to 53.5 at Superbook, by the way, so we'll see how high this gets for the total, but would expect there's going to be some buyback at some point here on the under. But as far as the way to play this, I would agree with you. I think Miami is the side. I like this Miami team. We have this future on them as well. So I think Miami is going to get this thing done, and I think laying 3 would be fair. I did actually bet Ole Miss on the money line today, but that's part of
just
to take
a hedge.
To take a little piece of our Miami 16-1 to win the national championship. Just in case, obviously, this is the time where semifinal, final, this is the time where we're going to be able to do it. And we'll see what happens in the next round, but we can expect that Miami's going to be an underdog in the next round. Question is by how much. It should not be an insane amount, especially given what happens in the next game. How does Miami handle this? Does anything injury-wise come out of these other ones? But did take a little piece of Ole Miss. Still sitting on Indiana -4, and that Jags and Packers teaser as well as part of the best bets that I'm still sitting on and waiting to.
I got to figure out what to pair Jacksonville with because you guys know me. I am a teaser queen when it comes to this kind of stuff. I always have them in pocket every week. I love the Jag side. I just don't know what I want to put it with. There are a few candidates. I thought about going like an untraditional route, maybe with the Chargers, but I don't know. We'll see. That's
I trust you.
Last couple of minutes here. I will figure that out, and I will have something in the account by tomorrow. Last couple of minutes here, though, you were talking about some NBA futures that were catching your attention, and apparently I don't listen to Pod to the Futures enough, so I'm sorry if you've discussed this, but what do you have?
Well, you were talking about something else, though, when you were talking with Jeff.
I know, but you just
Kyle
brought up
Shanahan.
Yeah, but you just brought up NBA futures, and you had just ridiculed me for not listening to Pod of the Futures enough. So if you have more takes,
because you posed a question to me, which was very deeply covered on Pod of the Futures. That's why.
Well, it's interesting to me because you weren't on Money Moves that day, so I was just assuming you weren't on Pod of the Futures either. Yet there you were. It's crazy.
That's a good dig. Proud of you for that one. All right, so that's more important. I will say there's a couple of things. Last night, though, I just thought it was interesting. So we get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to score over 40 points yesterday. There we covered on Pod of the Futures from an MVP standpoint. I had added Cade Cunningham at 30-1 to an MVP. He's now about 18-1 or so to win the award. But if there's a shot to take, I think, in that market outside of Shai, who's got a stranglehold on this and had another great game yesterday in the midst of an overtime win over the Jazz, it's probably Cade. I mean, he's been playing very well. He's got the numbers. He's the best player on a team that could win the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. You're kind of just taking a shot at Shai, either one, not playing enough games, which I don't think is going to happen, or two, the voters just saying, hey, we can't just give this to somebody, or we can't just give this to Shai unanimously for a second straight year. We've got to find somebody. Let's build these weird, archaic kind of bars that he has to clear. And voters will do that all the time. I mean, you look at Nikola Jokic, the year that he lost to Joel Embiid. There were voters who came out and said they gave it to Joel Embiid because he just didn't have one yet. That's a stupid reason to give somebody a tiebreaker and an MVP. The whole point here being is that voters come up with stupid parameters all the time. So I'd be curious to see if Cade starts to climb up a little bit more, but you can find him at some pretty good prices. Again, I had them at 30-1, and I would say that's the shot to take. I'd also say this, and we covered this on Pod of the Futures as well, but there's a lot being made of Jaylen Brown potentially winning MVP. I actually think it's a really poor case to be made. His usage rate is way up. His efficiency really isn't there entirely, and his impact on the team's net rating is not even in the ballpark, like the case that I made the time we talked about it, Stormy. If you look at your impact on net rating, Cade Cunningham improves his team's net rating by 6.1 points every 100 possessions on the floor. Jaylen Brown, the Celtics' net rating gets worse by 6.1 points. when he's on the floor. He's just eating up possessions, rightfully so, because they don't really have that much in terms of creation. I don't know if I'm barking up that tree yet. And even now at 35-1, it's done. So Cade Cunningham, I thought, interesting. And we'll see. Didn't play yesterday for the Pistons.
Also, our boy Keontae George getting shorter in the most improved market.
Well, he bounced
back and forth, but 10-1 right now.
Yes, and he extended back out actually at some spots to 14-1 after Denny Avdia had another game, 4 straight games, I think over 30 points for Avdia. But again, I still think it's George's to lose here. So I would still, if you don't have anything, take it.
Let's go. Okay, that's a wrap for us today on Money Moves. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Go Hornets. Keep it locked right here. Follow the money coming up with Mitch and Pauly on today's show. Paul Charchian's got his best player props for Wild Card Weekend. ESPN's Adam Rittenberg also stopping by the show for a CFP preview. You will not want to miss it. The Fiesta Bowl coming up tonight. Have a great day. Good luck with your bets.